Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking all about making your own sea glass. Get beautiful pieces just like this, look like you just picked them up from the beach, but you don't actually have to go and wait and find a whole bunch. So let's get started. You want to make sure you have enough of the proper protection when breaking pieces of glass. So you want to make sure that you've got your goggles, you've got gloves. I did it in quite a deep container and kind of tried to cover as much as possible on top so no shards fly back. I even held a piece of paper towel over top the glass object while I hit it with a hammer, just to make sure the paper towel contained it. And after that, you will have some really great pieces. You may have some smaller shards like this and some larger chunks. It depends on how long and how much you break all the pieces into. I've got some ones that I did before which are a lot larger, and then I've got my smaller ones because I've got kind of two different ideas for both of them. But essentially, you break them up, being very careful, into various sizes. And once you do, you will need a rock tumbler or just any sort of a barrel tumbler. I got mine actually because I was initially interested in tumbling up some rocks and then eventually doing sea glass, so I figured, you know what, it's perfect to just get it. And I got one that came as a small kit. It's from Natural Geographic actually. So this is the base of it. These two wheels and these wheels here, they will turn this barrel right here, which is closed at the top with a little knob, and the rubber is made to absorb some of the sound. The motor itself is still fairly loud, so I ended up putting it either outside overnight or I put it in my basement or in a garage. So just keep in mind, because you do have to tumble it for a few days. For sea glass, I did it between 2 to 3 days. You can go definitely longer than that, depends on how much you want the edges smoothed out, but I found 2 days was definitely sufficient. And then doing it for 3 days is just to get some that look a little bit older. And yeah, it depends on how impatient you are. Because I know the very first time I did it, I was like, I want to make stuff right away. So I took it out after the 2-day mark. But it was completely fine. It looked great. And then, give me a drink. All right, so let's talk about the actual tumbling process. So this tumbler that it goes into has a knob at the top that you will take off. And then you will pop off the secondary top. Sometimes you do need just a flat object to lift up one of the sides a bit, and it comes right off. Then there is a secondary one in here. You put the knob back onto it and then pinch it a little bit and take the lid off. And then in here you'll see you have your rocks or sea glass and your water and your grit. So the grit that comes with it, if you do get a set like I did, it comes with varying levels of grit. And the grit is it's almost like sandpaper, but just the rough grit from the sandpaper. So it looks like sand. They've got different, they've got coarse, medium, fine, and a polishing one. So they are all different levels of coarseness to just to kind of polish it. There's some that will make it a lot smoother, the finer ones. So you usually start from coarse, you go from coarse to medium to fine, and then you can polish, and that's how you can polish all of your stones. The finer ones, they recommend a few days longer. So for rocks, I think my polishing one, I think I left it for about 5 days. That's kind of what you want to do. But for sea glass, which is really nice, is it only takes 2 or 3 days because it's supposed to look rough. It's not supposed to look polished. So it doesn't take you as long to do it. So now this one, it's got, so what you usually do is you fill it, they say maximum 3/4 full. I usually do mine at half because the action of all the rocks or the glass hitting each other, tumbling in the water with the grit is what's going to make it break down those edges a lot quicker. So if you overpack it too much, then they're not going to have much room to move around and hit one another, and then you find you're waiting a lot longer for them to kind of break down and be the proper smoothness that you want. So also make sure you definitely don't dump your grit down the drain. It is not good for any plumbing. You don't want to rinse them or anything, so you'd want to do it outside. I usually just get a bowl of water to sit them into and kind of shake them off first, and then I can rinse it. It comes also with this little screen that you can put all of it in here and rinse it through. It actually tells you to dump the whole thing out, but because grit is expensive, I found that once you empty out all your contents, I like to just kind of fish them out. I'll either use a spatula or something. If I'm working with glass and I know that it's not ready yet, then I like to take one piece with a spatula just to make sure, so you aren't cutting yourself. But other than that, I take all the pieces out, just like so. Take them out, and you'll see all the grit on it. You want to kind of swish it around a bit just to get most of it off, and then this I would just dump onto a paper towel so it can start to dry. And then once you've removed all the contents from here, I shake it up, pour it into a jar, and then let it settle, because the grit will settle all down to the bottom and kind of create like a thick sludge almost until you shake it up again. And once it separates, you can gently pour out the extra water that's on top or keep it. It depends how much you have. But then you can reuse the grit, because otherwise they just tell you kind of dump it out, and I find it's just a waste when you can definitely reuse it a few times. So what I'm going to be doing is putting it all onto a paper towel. All right, and now, once all of that, you've taken some out, there's still a lot more in there, but I don't really want to take it all out right now. Then, all right, and so once you have all this in here, you're going to go ahead and rinse it all out very well. I usually like to rinse it in the backyard, so definitely please do not rinse it down the drain, or you will definitely have some plumbing issues down the line. All right, once that is all washed and clean, you will have some beautiful sea glass. So I use 3 different colors here, but trying to find different colored glass items is kind of hard to do, but I went to some various thrift stores to get some really nice either got glasses, some bottles, some pitchers. You can get some plates if you want just really flat ones. Alcohol bottles are great too. So if you have any empties that you're not planning on returning, this is a great project.